Hey, thank you everyone for joining the English webinar about life in the Japanese countryside. So just going to start off today by outlining the kind of flow of the webinar. And today, this is the fifth time that we've done this, and it's amazing because every time the number of participants it just is growing every time. And today I think we're going to have quite a few people joining, which is fantastic. So today we're going to start off just having a few kind of short introductions, just little presentations by me and by Paul and Daniel. And then we'll just go into a round kind of table discussion. And usually what happens is that there's usually a lot of questions. And so we'll probably just end up going through all the questions and discussing those. If you can, in the Q&A box, if you just put all your questions in there, I'll try and go through them all and then direct them to, to Paul or Daniel. And we're trying to get through all of them. If we don't manage to, you can contact Hirobiro or the Hiroshima Prefectural Desk, and they'll be able to answer any questions there. Okay, so let's just get started. Okay. So I'm just going to start off with a brief introduction about my situation. So I moved to this area in 2015. So we moved to Tokyo from the UK in 2009, and then we were kind of looking for a life in the countryside. So we actually visited the Furusato Kaiki Shien Center and met with the people from Hiroshima Prefecture, and they introduced us to this island called Osaki Shimojima, and specifically a town called Mitarai. And so we moved there in 2015. My wife got a job as the rural relocation officer, rural revitalization officer, Chiki Okoshi Kyoryokutai. And the benefit of that job was that it came with, it's a maximum of a 3-year contract. It actually comes with a house. So we had a house while we were looking for our current house. In 2017, we bought an empty Akia house, which was actually next to the house that we were living in. And we also run a little scone shop at the weekends from the old post office building that was also empty when we arrived. So the benefit of this island, it's a bit difficult to see on this map, but it's part of a chain of islands called the Tobishima Kaido. And the 3 islands that you can see running left from my island, they're all connected by bridges. And then there's a big bridge that connects to the mainland. So that's very useful. It's very popular with cyclists who cycle the Shimanami Kaido, which is the famous one that crosses from Onomichi right down to Imabari. But it's great because recently they put in high-speed internet. So a lot of my work, I do photography and writing and translation work, and a lot of it's digital. So this has been really useful to have really good internet here. And also, we can borrow little kind of farmland and things like that. So we've got a small vegetable garden that's usually a jungle by summer, and a few citrus trees and nice views. So so this is this is Mitarai. So it used to be a it's a historical preservation district. It used to be one of the big kind of trading ports with the kind of northern trade ships that pass through the Seto Inland Sea. And so it's all a historical district. This is our house. So yeah, the owners lived in Hiroshima, and we kind of mentioned that we're interested in looking inside, and then yeah, everything progressed really quickly. So it was a empty building, but it was quite a traditional kind of Japanese setup inside. And then yeah, we basically got, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that wherever you are in Japan in the countryside, there's usually like highly skilled professionals like based in that area. So we have the local carpenter um, and like the local electrician and people, and they all helped us with our project. And the good thing about that is that you can kind of discuss things with them, and they'll come up with ideas or also ways to that you could cut down costs by doing stuff yourself. So I did quite a lot of the demolition work that was like unskilled. So, and then yeah, it doesn't look like this now, but it's yeah, we just made it into quite a kind of Western style building. And then this is the tea shop. This is actually, we're in the middle of, or towards the end of renovating this now because it's actually falling apart. The back was falling into the next plot, which is unfortunate. So yeah, so this is we're planning to reopen this in a couple of months. So um, yeah, so that's my story. So next, Paul, do you want to?
Okay. Um, so I first came to Japan in '93, and I left a couple of times for work. So I spent 2 years in Singapore, came back, and back to Singapore for 2 years, then came back to Japan, and eventually left in 2019. I lived pretty much all my time. I lived in or around Tokyo, and got yeah, I just got a bit jaded with life and with teaching. And but you know, in my time here in Japan, I did get to go to the countryside, and I loved the old houses I used to see, and I it kind of became a desire to own one. But I left Japan 2019, and I went back to England for a bit. Then I went back to my home country, which is Paraguay, to look after my mother because my father had passed away. And so I did that for a couple of years. And my wife came out to Paraguay to help me look after my mother. And during that time, I used to keep surfing the net and looking at old properties here in Japan, and ended up uh, finding this place, and yeah, so we ended up you know uh, buying it and moving here. But it wasn't so straightforward. We had to the owner wanted to meet the people who were interested in the property. He wanted to know who he was selling to. So my wife, Aya, came back to Japan to see the property and meet the owner, and yeah, so the guy said he wanted to sell to us. So yeah, we got this place, and I yeah, I really wanted to. I'd wanted to farm for a long time, um, and my wife comes from a farming family, so um, I thought maybe do some of the same things that her father did, cattle and rice. But she she she's not really interested in farming cattle. Um, anyway, next slide. So yeah, moved here, and I I realized that it wasn't going to be so straightforward. And for example, the rice paddies that came as with the property, we had to prove that we were really going to farm and weren't going to use that land for something else. Um, and so they didn't become our property for, I don't know, about 6 to 9 months. Anyway, in that time, I thought about what I wanted to do, and I decided to farm peaches, not on the rice paddies, but we have some other land, these terraces across from the house. So yeah, I decided I was going to do peaches, and also, but they take a while to start producing. So then in the meantime, I decided to farm tomatoes. Again, the idea I got the idea from my wife planting a lot of tomatoes, and uh, they that turned out quite well. So I thought, well, this could be something to give us some sort of quick money before peaches kick in. Um, yeah, so things didn't work out quite as I thought they would, and we are doing rice, but as part of the farming group. We're part of a farming group in this area, and so we help with the rice production and making the sprouts, and then planting them, and then harvesting them. Yeah. So I have some pictures. I don't know if they can see them, but yeah. So there are some pictures of me, and just some pictures of the greenhouses where they they get the sprouts growing, and some of the pictures there you can see are of me. I harvested some bamboo shoots from behind the house. So behind the main building in the picture there, there's a stream that comes down from the mountain. So yeah, sorry, my dog. Uh, yeah, it was just free food, and so also um, when I came here, of course I didn't know anyone, although my wife's hometown isn't so far away. Just in this area, I I just started waving at anyone I saw, uh, much to my wife's embarrassment. I just wanted to come across as approachable, so that people wouldn't be afraid to talk to me, or get close. Um, and just if you move to the countryside, you need to I think be approachable, so that opportunities can come your way. So I think if you go to the next slide, can't remember what photos there are there, but there's just some photos of us. We made these kind of raised beds on a field that was lent to us by a neighbor. They weren't farming it, so they said, "Oh, would you like to do something here?" So yeah, we got more land to farm, and uh, also, if you go to the next set of photos, another opportunity that came my way was making soba at a nearby restaurant. Yeah, so I think moving to the countryside, if you're lucky, maybe you can just make a living from one thing. But I found from the neighbors, no one, or very few people just do farming. You know, everyone has another job, and they do farming and this other job. So I had the chance to learn how to make soba. I'm still learning, but yeah, opportunities come your way, and yeah, you just need to take them when you can, and get involved in the community. I think in the next picture, we had a matsuri in the autumn. So there's a picture of me carrying the omikoshi, and Christmas and New Year's, and then the last picture there is the the beginning of this year. We had something called a tondo, where they have this big bonfire and burn. What are the things they burn? New end of year or New Year's decorations. They burn everything, and so we had a little party beforehand, and then we had the tondo, and heated sake in the bamboo, and yeah, and we cooked some mochi with the embers. So yeah, it's a nice life. It's very peaceful here. You have a lot of space. Don't worry about trains or buses or traffic. It's very simple, but very healthy. So that's all really.
Right. Thank you. Okay, so let's. Oh. Okay, Daniel, do you want to follow?
Okay. Hello. Tom, with the slides, you can just move them randomly as you like. Okay. Yeah, I'm from England. Been in Japan about 13 years now, I think. And I came here about 20 years ago just for 1 year and then left again. When I was after university, I traveled a lot, more than I think 7 or 8 years traveling, working different places, bit of a hippie life really. I met my wife, my Japanese wife, we met in India. We traveled together. And then when we wanted to settle down, we had to decide England or Japan. And everybody always asks me, why did you choose Japan over England? And I always answer, it wasn't a case of one is better than the other. It was more of a case of the lifestyle we wanted to live, which is the self-sufficient as much as possible in the nature. This kind of lifestyle is possible in Japan, maybe not possible in England. For example, in England, if you wanted to have your own house in the countryside with land big enough for farming, with your own woodland to cut logs, you'd have to be a millionaire. In Japan, it's the opposite. I mean, there is places where they'll actually give you a house for free and they'll give you land for free because they just want someone to take care of it. Nobody uses it. Young people are moving to the cities. The countryside is getting empty. So Japan was perfect for us. So we moved here for that. when I first arrived in Japan, we lived near my wife's parents, who are up in Gifu. And I worked in a kind of English teaching job for a couple of years, and we saved some money and then searched for our dream was always this lifestyle. So there was two ways that we searched for houses. One was just by going places and trying to meet people and asking them, but we didn't find much success with that. The Japanese in the countryside, they're a little bit wary of people they don't know. So especially a foreigner just suddenly turns up in their village asking about, oh, we want to move to your village. They will be a bit wary about that. I do know people who have done it, but I think if you're going to go down that route, it's best to rent somewhere or nearby first, and then get to know the community, spend some time, show them that you're a nice person, hopefully, and then things will open up. People will offer you things. But the way that we went, that we did find success, was Akia Bank is website that I don't know if all of the council offices in most prefectures have Akia Bank. They have a list of all the available properties for buying or rent in their area on the council website. And you can scroll through them. If there's something you're interested in, you just contact the council and they put you in, you can view it, they take you there. We viewed our place and it's just what we wanted. So the council put us in contact with the owners. The price is already agreed. And then if you want it, you just buy it. I mean, compared to England, I couldn't believe it. You just buy a house with cash and it's yours. Yeah. And the other question people always ask is why did you move to Jinseki Kogen, this area of Hiroshima? Is well, it was more similar to why we came to Japan. It wasn't that the area was so better than any other area. It's just the availability. We checked Akia Bank in many different areas, and we found something that was suitable for us at a very cheap price in Jinseki. And so we ended up here. Before I moved here, I didn't know anything about the area. But now I would say that it's a great area. What I like best, there's nothing here. There's no train stations, no supermarkets, no shopping malls, no highways, nothing, almost no people. So for my selfish dream, it's very nice. And the people are very good. I mean, the council was so welcoming for us. They arranged everything. They helped me find a job when I first got here. The neighbors were so great. Advice if you do move to an area, the first thing we did was we walked around all of the areas and introduced ourselves to them, gave some simple presents. We even made like a meeting in the local village hall and just introduced ourselves, and the neighbors really appreciated that. And we got off to a good start, a good relationship. And when I was living there on my own, they coming every day, giving me food, presents, vegetables, everything, and how to use machines, how to use these tools and stuff. They've been just great. And that's important advice, to try and start a good relationship. And from there, everything opens up. People offer you, do you want more land? Do you want a rice field? Do you need trees? Do you need firewood? Everything comes. In contrast, I've got an Italian friend who moved to the countryside, and he's more of a private family life, and he didn't do that. And he didn't get any help or anything, and he found it very difficult. And he's left. He's back in Italy now. When I moved here, I was lucky to get on an apprenticeship with a organic farm. Most prefectures in the countryside, they have schemes where you can get a paid apprenticeship working on a farm. So you learn on the job, and you get a small salary, but it was enough for us. And I did it for about 2 years. So I got the basics of how to grow vegetables and stuff. Before I came here, I had no experience, really. And now we're growing our own vegetables, fixing the house a bit. I'm a bit shy to say renovating the house after seeing your photos, Tom. I mean, nothing as good as that. Um, we're keeping chickens. We're getting some goats in the spring, hopefully, and yeah, we use as much as possible simple natural life. So all of our firewood for heating, for hot water, for the kitchen, for cooking is firewood. Water comes out of a well, out of the spring water. Yeah, our own vegetables, everything. I didn't do very well with the rice field. I'll have another go at that hopefully one day. The main challenge I've had this lifestyle is the balance between working for your home lifestyle and working for money. So when I first moved here, I worked on a farm every day and I had enough money, but I didn't have any time to do my own projects at home. And then after that, I tried teaching English at home a few days a week and doing some part-time jobs. And I had a lot of time and it was great. Got a lot of projects done at home. It was fun. But my kids are complaining we don't have enough money, and 3 kids now. And so yeah, it's that balance is the thing that we're working on. But it's great. The seasons are great in Japan. The people are so friendly. You never ever feel threatened or, I mean, yeah, it's just what I always wanted, to live in the nature in the countryside. It's definitely possible in Japan. So yeah. Okay.
Right. Thank you, guys. Fantastic. So let me just stop the share. Okay. So yeah, thank you very much for those presentations. Wonderful. And yeah, as expected, there's quite a few questions starting to come in. Let me just check. Sorry, let me just check the chat as well. All right. So first of all, okay, just to answer Julia's question. So my wife's work. Sorry, I was kind of like talking quickly, but it's a Chiki Yokoshi Kyoryokutai. It's like a rural revitalization officer. I'll type that into the chat in a minute. And the first question here, so the real Dave Cameron says, how much capital did you move to Hiroshima with? I don't think we can really get it. Yeah, I don't think we should talk actual figures, but maybe how have you found like the cost of living and the price of properties here compared to elsewhere? Paul, do you want to?
Yeah. Well, like Daniel said, you can't live in the English countryside and pay the sort of money we've paid to live in the countryside here. It's very different. Yeah. I mean, you're not paying a lot of money for your house, but the houses need to be fixed up. They need to be insulated. Sometimes you got to change major parts, fix them up. But yeah, I mean, when I first started looking in this area, I saw one house which I really liked. It had the same shape of roof as this house, and it was going for 1,000,000 yen. And then suddenly I looked again one day and it was under negotiation and had been sold. But yeah, 1,000,000 yen is £5,000, and you can't buy a house for £5,000 in the UK. It's not possible.
Yeah.
How about you, Daniel?
Okay. Yeah. Well, when we moved here, we didn't have much money saved up at all. I mean, I just did 2 years working in a English language school in Gifu, and the money that I saved from that's all I had. And we viewed a few houses through the Akia Bank website, and Up from about 200 man. What's that?
2 million.
Yeah, that from that, if you look at something about that price in this area, you could live there straight away. As it gets cheaper, then you need to kind of fix it, especially in the countryside in Japan. The humidity, the moisture. If someone's not living there for more than a year, it just starts rotting the floor, and you have to replace that. We bought ours for 80 man, 800,000. Is that right? with a house with gardens with forest. So I mean, how much would you pay for that in anywhere else in the world? So yeah, and then we spent about the same as that again fixing it, but from the council we got loads of support money. There's various schemes for hot water system if you want, or putting a wood-fired stove in. They give us support for that, fixing the floor, fixing the roof with the local. As long as you're using local people for the work, then you get support money to help with that. It works pretty well.
And do you guys find that, I mean, we find it here, but the cost of living, like just the kind of normal outgoing costs for daily life are a lot lower compared to like living in the city or living elsewhere?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you grow a lot. You can grow a lot of vegetables, and of course, not growing very much now because it's winter. But maybe next winter, we have a greenhouse now, so we'll be able to grow more even in winter. But a big problem here is the wildlife. So we've grown a lot of daikon, but the deer have eaten all the leaves off the top of the daikon. So it's just the daikon sticking out of the ground, and with no leaves. But yeah, I think we don't really buy any vegetables. It's more milk or maybe meat.
Yeah, I think it depends on you. How far do you want to go as self-sufficient? I mean, you could live for month free if you don't mind a pretty tough lifestyle, but
I think Daniel's frozen. Okay, well we'll come back to. Oh, hello.
oh yeah, okay.
Okay, I can hear you. Oh yeah, you're back.
Yeah, okay. So
Sorry. Yeah.
yeah, the main expenses are the car and the mobile phones for us. But if you don't mind walking, you can go even cheaper. But
Yes.
So we've got another question about Japanese level. So when you arrived in Japan, how, yeah, what was your level of Japanese? And was it difficult or easy to adapt with that language barrier? Yeah, how have you guys found that?
It's challenging. Yeah, my Japanese level isn't really anywhere near good enough. It needs to be a lot better to, take part in a lot of the farming activities. I've learned how to make soba, but mainly because I videoed my teacher making it, and I just watched the video again and again and again, and then I make it, and yeah, it's just from doing it, and I use the Google Translate app, but no, I think moving to the countryside here, you really need to speak the language.
Do you find yourself kind of improving pretty quickly, or is it?
Um, not really, because I'm not with Japanese people so much, and with my wife, we speak English all the time. So I'm pretty lazy actually when it comes to studying Japanese. So yeah.
Do some
Yeah.
people speak English?
Here, just one neighbor does, but I don't see him that often. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
when you came, did you speak English? Sorry, English. Did you speak Japanese at all? Right, I think.
me.
And
Okay. As I say, when I lived in Gifu, I worked in an English school, so we weren't allowed to speak Japanese there. And I worked with other foreigners, so communicated in English all the time, and spoke to my wife in English. So for 2 years, I almost no Japanese. But when we moved here, nobody speaks English at all. And then I started working on a farm where everything was in Japanese, and it was amazing how quickly I learned it. And I didn't study. I'm not the sort of person that sits down and studies something, but just every day being surrounded with Japanese and having no alternative, I did learn it quite quickly. I kind of panicked as well when my first daughter started speaking when she was young, and she spoke in Japanese, and I thought I better learn quick, otherwise I can't speak to her. But in terms of buying a house and moving in the countryside, if I didn't have a Japanese wife, the paperwork for buying the house and all that, you have to negotiate, deal with lawyers and stuff. I wouldn't have been able to do that. I can't read kanji. You would definitely have to get help with that if you didn't know. Yeah.
And so I think the follow-up question from the same person was, um, yeah, I guess like tips for improving Japanese quickly. I guess just kind of dive in at the deep end
Yeah.
and try to swim.
yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, there's another question about Akia costs, but I think we kind of covered that. So okay, so this is from Jan Chow. How important is building, maintaining relationships with neighbors and the people living in the town? And how easy or difficult has it been? So yeah, how have you found the kind of the building relationships? So Paul, you mentioned in your talk that you try to wave at everybody you pass, and has that strategy worked? Or
Yeah, I think it has. I I was on TV during the summer, um, and about a month or two after that, I saw an old lady in the supermarket. She was staring at me, so I just said "konnichiwa" to her, and she remembered having seen me on TV, you know, and she was there with her son, I think, and they chatted to us. But I think, yeah, people are friendly. You know, you have to be open. You have to, you know, I think when you move to the countryside, you need to pay a visit to your neighbors, introduce yourself, like Daniel did. You need to, you know, have a little present to give them, and they kind of appreciate things like that. Um, so, yeah, people are nice, but you need to be open. You know, you need to, yeah,
so as
stop.
long as you're making the effort, then it's
Yeah, you need to make an effort. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
and Daniel, like so you kind of made an effort to kind of visit everybody when you arrived and talk
Yeah.
to them as much as possible.
Yeah.
Do you
And
think?
sorry.
Oh no, I was just wondering, like, because your lifestyle is probably very different to the kind of standard kind of Japanese rural inaka lifestyle, maybe. So
Yeah.
how do they view your lifestyle?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because where I live, most of the population here is very elderly. Like most of my neighbors are over 80 or 90 years old, and they were very happy to see me and my wife trying to use the old tools that nobody uses anymore, trying to do like making a fire under the bath for hot water, things like that. They were very amused or impressed. I don't know which one more, but they were happy. But the younger generations kind of thinks we're a bit strange. Like, why would you want to go back in time? But I think an important thing also, most areas in the countryside, they have like a community meeting. Depends where you are. Some of them are a few times a year, as is once a month. And we make the effort. We always go. If I can't go, my wife goes. And maybe 90% of the discussion is nothing to do with me, or I don't understand it, but I still go. And we decide, like in the summer, we do cutting the grass around the local area together and cleaning the river one time. And there's a few um, communal activities, and I always join those. And then that's very well received, and makes it very important for a good relationship to make an effort with those things.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't know that in these kind of rural communities, you've got quite a lot of kind of community activities every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it. Sorry, that's my heater going. Sorry about that. Fantastic. Okay. So there's a few questions about visas. I think these you probably have to go directly to Hiroshima Prefecture or places. I don't think we can really answer those. Let me just scroll through. IKEA banks only in Hiroshima? No, I think they're everywhere, but I think pretty much every region in Hiroshima has its own IKEA bank. I guess every municipality. Okay, so there's a question about hidden costs with buying a house and renovation. Have you experienced any? So, for example, maybe it costs more than you expected, or aspects of the rebuild or DIY, or
Yeah. So our house from the outside, it looks great, and the son of the owner had cleaned it all out. It was very nice, very presentable. I didn't actually see it before we bought it. My wife came to see it, but when I got here, we started realizing everything that was wrong with the house. Like, it's really leaning quite heavily in some areas, and we've had three different people come and have a look at the house. So the first, an architect, I said, would it be possible to get it about 95% straight? And she said, no, I don't think so. I said, why not? So because if it wasn't 95% straight, you wouldn't be satisfied, and then that would create problems. Anyway, we never heard from her again. And then the next guy who came, also an architect. Also, sorry, back to the first person, the first architect. I said to rebuild the house, so disassemble and reassemble the house. How much would that cost? And so she said upwards of 30 million. And then the second architect, when we asked him the same question, he said around 70 million. And the third person that was introduced to us was a carpenter. And to redo the whole house, put a new bathroom in, a new kitchen, new flooring, insulate the walls, double glazing windows, it came to around 18 million. It's still a lot of money, but compared to the amounts we were quoted before, it seems much cheaper. Maybe there are things that we can do ourselves to bring the cost down. But yeah, it's still a lot of money. But yeah, that would be a rough estimate. Where I am, which is near the town of Serra, it's yeah, it would cost about 18 million yen.
So I guess, yeah, that goes, kind of links into what Daniel was saying earlier about you can get like a free house, but that would be a complete rebuild.
Yeah. I mean, the carpenter we spoke to, he said he thinks he knows what the problem is, and it's rectifiable. So yeah.
There's a few questions directed to Daniel. So one is, do you homeschool your kids?
Homeschool?
Yeah.
No, I'd like to. Before they started school, I did want to, but it's a thing that's easy to think about, but not so easy to do. My wife's got a circle of friends that are all similar-minded people, and they made forest nursery, forest kindergarten, where so instead of going to a normal state kindergarten, they take turns to meet in the houses. They're all living similar places in the countryside, do activities for the kids in the nature. And there's talk of near here in Shobara making an alternative school for kids, but they're just planning it at the moment. So if that starts, we'll think about that. At the moment, my kids are in a normal elementary school. It's a very small school, so it's not so well. It's okay.
And then there's another one from Joel, which says, what are the toughest problems that you've had facing when you're trying to be self-sufficient?
Yeah, as I said, the balance between having enough time to do what you need to do, but having enough money to do it. So you need to work to get the money. I think the best situation is if you have a skill, like I don't know, you're a photographer or a writer, you can work from home. Or if you are a carpenter or you're a really good farmer, and then you could make a project at home that you could live off. But I haven't been able to do that enough. I've tried projects like teaching English at home and stuff, but I always end up not making enough to live off, so I still have to go out and work somewhere. And then I just become too busy because I'm doing all of the things. So that's the challenge is balancing work outside and work at home. So,
We've got a question from Mark about water rights. So you both do a lot of farming. What's the situation with water rights or kind of river access or water access?
We have a well. I think most people around here use well water, and other than that, yeah, most of the water in the summer is used for the rice paddies, but anything that isn't used goes straight into a river. So behind us, on the mountain behind us, we have a little stream coming down. So there is water we can get from there for other stuff. But I've heard of disagreements regarding water among neighbors, but I haven't really experienced anything. And yeah, we've had plenty of rain. And we have a couple of ponds in the mountain that we can use.
Yeah, water costs. We get our water from the well as well, so there's no cost for the water apart from the electric for the pump. But the gardens and the rice fields are all fed from streams and ponds, which is free, and it's communal. It's the same group of neighbours that we do the cutting the grass together, and we have the meetings together, and we do local events together. So it's all fine. I have been to areas in Japan where there's not so much water, and they have like pump for the rice fields, and they pay communally for it, and you have to write down the times, how many minutes you use the pump each time, and then you pay accordingly. And it is one of the few things that I've heard of people having arguments over is water rights in the countryside. But not so much these days because, as I say, the population is aging. There's less people. A lot of the rice fields aren't even used anymore. So it's not like 20, 30 years ago where everybody was really, or 50 years ago, they're very sensitive about water and land. Now it's not so bad, I heard.
So I think, yeah, like on just for a bit of contrast, like on my island, there's not a lot of water sources, I guess. So a lot of it's like well water or yeah, they just kind of pour water in tanks, like rainwater in tanks, and then use that. Yeah, water's a bit of an issue here, but it's mainly citrus farming here. So yeah, I think it doesn't use too much water. Um, okay, so there's quite a few. Sorry, there's about 60 questions. I don't think we're going to get through them all. But okay, let's go for this. Oh, so another one from Mark was about what kind of power do you have and what kind of power do you use? Is it like just into the mains or is it solar or something different?
99% mains.
Mains, okay.
They're just mains power. Yeah.
Yeah. And then are there places to ask for assistance in employment or to start a small business? Well, I think I could probably just answer that, but I mean, there's a lot of, I think maybe you guys have found as well, but the local government is pretty helpful. Things like that. There's also something called the Shokokai, which is like an association for small business, medium to small businesses, and I think they offer a lot of advice as well about starting your own business. Okay, so what are the ways that people make money in the countryside? From David. So we've heard about how you guys have made money. What have you seen the other ways that other people are making money as well, or making a living?
There's a cafe down the road. A couple of girls run a cafe. And people sell their vegetables. Yeah. Lots of hairdressers around here, lots of electricians. Yeah. But yeah, I think mainly people sell what they grow.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Most people I know sell their farm produce. Some people that I know that have moved to the countryside, they started cafes or restaurant or even a guest house. Yeah, or the younger generation of my neighbors, most of them go out to work, drive up to an hour to the nearest city or town for just a normal company work. Yeah, so
And I guess like now we've got quite good internet connection everywhere. So if you're kind of digitally based, you can basically work anywhere in the countryside. Fantastic. Okay, so just scrolling down. Okay, so there's a question here. Do you have to buy, or is it possible to rent? So I think a lot of the conversation is always about buying houses, but
Yeah.
how possible? Yeah, what are the possibilities of renting?
We have some neighbors who they've been renting for, I think, the last 10 years, and they finally decided to buy. I don't know if it's because they've been saving up or they weren't interested in buying, but yeah, they they rented the house with land. But yeah, I think that there's so much land that isn't being cultivated. That's, sometimes people ask you to farm their land, just to keep it going and keep it clean.
Mm. Yeah. There's about renting. There's a lot of places on the Akia Bank where either you can buy them or rent them, and a lot of the ones that are renting are because they have the Oaxaca, the family grave, is outside the house, so they don't want to sell it. They don't want to sell the property, but they don't want to live there. And if nobody lives there, it's just going to fall apart. So they want someone to live there, so they agree to rent it. And if you move in, it's kind of like an endless rent. So yeah, it's kind of like becomes your property, although technically it's not. And the rents, some of, like I said before, some of them are free as long as you cut the grass and you repair what needs to be done. That's the rent. Some of them you pay. In terms of land for farming or rice fields, definitely you can get those where it's not really renting. Just they say just use it for as long as you want. So definitely possibility to rent. Um, but we wanted to buy rather than rent because then I've got the freedom to do whatever I want with the house without worrying about it's someone else's property if I destroy it by accident or yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, in terms of renting, I mean, on this island as well, I mean, the monthly rent is just, yeah, it's so cheap uh, compared to most places. I mean, I think, well, I've heard of like Ichima yen a month. Sorry, 10,000 yen a month around here.
Mm.
Okay, we've got an interesting question from Andreas. So in addition to farming, do you guys go fishing, foraging, or hunting? So, I mean, there's quite a lot of wildlife. Well, yeah, quite a lot of farm hunting, I guess.
Yeah, but you can't. You need to get a license to hunt. You can't just go out and kill the wildlife. And I think after let's say you kill a deer or you kill a wild boar, then you need to take it somewhere and they test it. They test the meat or something, and then you can get it back, or maybe they butcher it as well. But yeah, you can't just hunt without a license. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to hunt, but you have to do a test to get the license, which is in Japanese kanji. I can't read it, so. But what I would say is, I've got friends that hunt, and well, but legality of things. I just say anything's possible in the countryside. Once you're here and you've got connections, anything's possible. Fishing, I tried to fish with my son. I know nothing about fishing, so I haven't caught anything really. But yeah, I'd like to. Foraging, yeah, there's all kind of what edible plants, and it's everybody knows them. The older generation of people, they lived off them in the end after the war. So they're happy to teach you. They'll take you in the mountain and show you what you can eat, and they're pretty easy. Um, we have matsutake mushrooms, which you can sell as well. We've been able to do that where we are, so it's good.
Yeah, because I think quite a lot of people are always surprised when they come to these islands because there's quite a big wild boar population here, and you just kind of
Mm.
yeah every other day. What's the situation like in Sela and Jinseki Korgan, what's the wildlife up there?
I've seen a wild boar a few times, but mostly deer. That's a real problem. Yeah. And yeah, and then there are small like ferrets or ferret-like creatures and other small animals. Yeah.
Yeah, wild boar. We don't see deer or monkeys where we are. About half an hour from where I am, my friend's got a farm, and the monkeys come, and that's a real challenge. You have to make a big, high electric fence, and they take everything. Where we are, there's a lot of tanukis, kind of raccoon things that do. They're annoying because they take your fruit off the vegetables and stuff, and they don't eat them properly. They just kind of destroy it, go away. But I haven't got an electric fence or anything. My neighbors all use electric fences or nets, and they're pretty much okay. But I've tried to do as natural as possible, and then so a percentage goes to the wildlife. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask that, yeah, so maybe those add to kind of the challenges and the possibly the costs of farming in the countryside, maybe something
Yeah.
initially think of before moving, but I guess you just live with it, put up with it.
Yeah. There's some costs to farming. I was surprised about machinery and tools. I just saw a comment there, something about tools, farming stuff. Is when I bought our house, everything was in it. It was the people that lived there before passed away, and everything was there. So I got a full shed full of everything you need for farming, even some machinery. And then the machinery I didn't have, my neighbors gave me their old ones for free. So it can be a cost, but usually it's not. I don't think if you don't mind using older stuff.
People often give you stuff as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So as long as you're kind of in with the local community, then they'll make sure you're okay.
Yeah, you have to make an effort with people. Yeah, people aren't going to come to you. You need to go to them, and that's how it starts. Yeah, there are lots of opportunities.
So there's a question for me about the cafe. So is it self-sustainable, and who are the customers? So yeah, it's kind of I don't know if it's a hobby, but it's just something we do at the weekends. And luckily we get quite a few tourists who come to this town because it's a historical town, so they tend to be the customers, and also the local community, the customers. Okay, that's quite interesting. From Alexandra, does anyone have any experience here with flower farming, or know if it's a similar process to food farming?
Don't have any experience, but lots of flower parks around Seda. Yeah.
And are they professional flower? Are they producing flowers to sell, or is it more displays?
I'm embarrassed to say I haven't actually been to one. I just know there are lots because I've driven past them, and you pay to go in and see. I'm sure you must be able to buy as well, but I feel it's mainly to see as like a tourist thing.
Yeah, there's a few. Yeah, there's a few flower farms near where I am, and they're for selling. Japanese have a traditions of, like in Obon in the summer, they put certain flowers in their grave, and these farms sell those flowers. In the funeral, they use another kind of flower. there's different events that use different flowers, and they grow them commercially and sell them. I know somebody who worked in a part-time job, and they use a lot of chemicals to get rid of the bugs and stuff. So that was, my friend didn't like so much. He prefer the natural style. They're a bit quite strong chemicals, and yeah, I wouldn't want to do that, but it is possible.
Okay. So I've got a question here from Vicky. Are there building permits? Did you need building permits to renovate houses? Because I know, yeah, like back in the UK.
No, no, in England you need planning permission and stuff. Over here, you just might just do whatever you want, pretty much.
Yeah. It's your house. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so here, this is a question from Antonia. So how about doctors' groceries and healthcare? And if I don't grow anything, is it easy to get stuff? So how accessible are the shops and services and yeah, around where you are?
I don't live so far away from Seda town, so I can go to supermarkets there. But my wife has a part-time job just twice a week at a little store. The same place where I go to learn how to make soba, and you can buy vegetables and you can buy everything there, pretty much. But it just depends where you live, you know.
How about you, Daniel?
Yeah, there's in the countryside there's small shops or people just selling from their house or on the side of the road, little boxes. So you can get vegetables and produce anywhere. But if you want a big supermarket from where we live, we have to drive half an hour or 40 minutes to the nearest town or city. But at the moment, I'm working in a school 4 days a week. So when I go into the town for work, I can go shopping and come back. It depends how much, but you can buy anything online, get things delivered if you really don't want to travel to buy stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's kind
Doctors, yeah, we have to. There's a hospital in here, but they only pretty much cater for elderly because most of the population is elderly. So when my daughter was young, we brought her here, and they said we had to take her to the city because they didn't have children's medicines here. So if we go to the hospital, we have to drive to about 40 minutes again to a hospital. But if we don't go unless we really have to. So
it's kind of the same here. So we're right on the edge of Hiroshima Prefecture, but it takes us about 30 minutes to drive to the mainland, and then you've got all the big supermarkets and things, and then there's yeah about 45 minutes to the nearest big hospital. But also that's quite interesting. Do you think if you couldn't drive, is driving like a necessity, do you think, of living where you are living?
Yeah, unless you like cycling or walking. Yeah, you need a car, a little K truck.
yeah, yeah, it's essential. I mean, there's even since I've been here in the last few years, they've stopped the bus services in the countryside because there's nobody using them. So the elderly people get taxi vouchers. So if they need to go to hospitals and stuff, but for there's no buses, there's no train station. Yeah, you need a car, and just for working on the land, you need the K truck for doing stuff. My dream would be to have a horse or a donkey, but that's more of a dream than a reality.
That's it. Well, we're kind of running out of time a little bit. Like there's quite a few questions about kind of like personal like jobs, as in like, can I find a job if I move to Hiroshima? I think for those, like it's best to just contact the prefecture directly and ask for advice over there.
In summer, there are lots of farming farming
Yeah.
work you can pick up a lot. Come winter, though, yeah, not so much.
I mean, one thing I would say is that, well, around here, everyone's looking for people to work in their companies or, to help out, even part-time jobs as well. There's always, if you don't choose what kind of work if you just want a job for the sake of a job, there's actually a lot in the countryside, I would say. Is that a similar situation around where you guys live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got one question here. Let's go for Hannah Haruna. So, do you have any information about starting with animals in Japan, such as chickens or goats, and the difficulties? Anything they would need to know if they wanted to start, yeah, farming with animals?
We don't have any chickens. I'd like to, but neighbors of ours tried, and some of the wildlife killed them off, so they don't farm chickens anymore.
Yeah. I think there's a big difference between your aim. If you're aiming to commercially farm animals, or if you're just looking for self-sufficiency at home, it's very different. So I've got chickens. We've got about 12 or 13, I think, and it's pretty easy to manage. I don't know if I needed one actually, but I didn't get a license or anything. Just tried it, and it works. It's very easy actually. And getting some goats. But what the farm I worked at had chickens. They had a few thousand chickens, and the big thing is the waste that comes out of them. You have to clean it out every day. You get big 4-ton trucks full of chicken waste, and what are you going to do with it? That was the big challenge. And yeah, otherwise it's just feeding them really. Mm.
Another question is about Amazon. Did Amazon deliver there?
Yes.
Actually, have you so like um, a lot of people often ask, isn't it very inconvenient, like to live in the countryside in Japan? But I don't know. How have you ever felt kind of inconvenienced at all?
I've only been here just over a year, so not at all really.
No, me too. I've been 9 years now, and not at all. But again, it's personal and your expectations. I mean, I don't really. I like to just be in the countryside with the simple life, and that's fine. But if you want to be going out to nightclubs and cafes and you want to have a big social commitments and stuff, of course it's going to be an inconvenience. But I mean, that's up to you, one or the other, I think.
And then there's a last final question. So how much land do you have? So I guess, yeah, maybe in terms of like how much land came with the property, and or maybe how much land are you farming at the moment? I think it might be a bit difficult to describe it, but
We have a hectare of farmland, 6 rice paddies, which total 7,300 square meters. And then we have 3 terraces, but I'm not sure how big they are. And then we've got a lot of forest. And then we have a field that was lent to us, and then a greenhouse, again, that was lent to us. The rice paddies it's kind of farmed communally, and yeah, it doesn't seem like a great deal. So they pay us a very, very small rent for the year. Then they pay us for cutting the weeds back and for managing the water levels. And then we have to buy our own rice. So it doesn't really seem like a good deal, but we don't have to buy a tractor, we don't have to buy a rice planter, we don't have to buy a harvester. You know, everything's included in the farming group. So it's just, yeah, you do the work, you get a little bit of money for it, and then on top of that, you need to buy your own rice. But it's a 30-kilo bag of rice this year cost us 7,500 yen. So it's pretty good. So we got a couple of bags for the year.
So how about you, Dan?
We got our land. I've got 2 vegetable gardens. I think they're about 50 meters long, about 10 or 20 meters wide, something like that. We've got 2 of those. We don't have rice fields. The previous owner sold the rice fields separately before we bought it, but our neighbour's not using them, and he said we can use them if we want to. So I have used them. So the land that we own, as I say, is those 2 vegetable fields, and then there's the mountain of forest around the house, and opposite the other side of the rice fields is I don't know how big it is. I mean, I don't think there's anyone alive that knows where the borders are anymore, but you can do whatever you want in there. I cut the trees down for firewood every winter. Yeah, and then the land that's would be available to me if I wanted to do rice farming or big scale farming is pretty much endless, I guess. I mean, there's land everywhere, and you're free to use it.
And then a few, yeah, we're kind of coming towards the end, but a few quick questions. So from Glenn and Usa, so how is stargazing on clear nights?
Sensational. Sensational. Yeah, there's no light pollution. It's and probably even better where Daniel lives, but here it's fantastic, really, really good.
Yeah, same. Very nice. It's a bit cold for that today. I won't be going out tonight.
Yeah.
-10 this morning.
Yeah, we're kind of experiencing a bit of a chilly front at the moment. So actually, just to kind of finish off with just a question from me, but if someone was thinking about moving to Hiroshima, to the countryside, thinking about, yeah, looking for an IKEA, what advice would you give them? So what would be the main things to kind of watch out for, or things to be careful?
Check out the area first, see if you like it, and then get a good look at the house you want to buy, and negotiate on the price.
Yeah.
Just because you might pay a very small amount for your house, but to fix it up, that's going to cost you a lot more, unless you know how to do it yourself.
Yeah. Different councils in different areas have different schemes for support money for renovating the house, for putting in heating, for putting in water. So see what's available in that area. Some of them are amazing. I mean, they pretty much do everything for you. And some of them even have schemes where they want people to move into the area and they'll give you a lump sum. So find out about that. Depending on the farming you want to do, if you want to be a vegetable farmer, find out if there's monkeys there or not. See if your house has well water or spring water, and I got asked checked to see if it was safe to drink before we bought it. Other than that, yeah, just go and have a look. Akia Bank was great. We had a great experience, and the council really supported us. If anyone comes to Jinseki, they've got a really good team who will help them, and you can contact me as well if anybody has any questions. The council know my details, so no problem.
Fantastic. Okay. So finally, for the last few minutes, I'm going to have to share. Well, I'm not going to have to. I'm going to share a screen and then just do. Sorry, mention some things. So these are some messages from the prefecture. Oops. Sorry. Right. So yeah. So this whole webinar system or series was set up by Hirobiro, which is run by the Hiroshima Prefecture, and they basically give you lots of advice and information for people who want to relocate to Hiroshima Prefecture, not just to the countryside, but also to Hiroshima City as well. And they're going to set up some free private online consultations in English, actually with me, and it will be with Zoom. And I think there's a date. I think it was on the 24th of February. But there's going to be, if there's a lot of demand, then they're going to fix up a few more. And so to get onto that, there's going to be information coming in afterwards in an email, and so you can book onto that. Also, they have a permanent desk at the Furusato Kaiki Shien Center. So this is in Yurakucho in Tokyo. So if you are living in Tokyo or you're nearby, you can actually go and visit their desk, and they can give you advice straight away there. And there's also these two useful resources. So one is called Live in Hiroshima, and this website basically has just all the information foreign residents need when they're living in Hiroshima. And I think it's accessible in 13 different languages. And yeah, they also have like an advice desk there as well, that you can ask questions and get information that way. Also, there's the website for Hirobiro, and yeah, so if you click on there, you can also see kind of past webinar events, and there's plenty of information there as well. So if we didn't get to your question today, the best thing you can do is contact Hirobiro or Live in Hiroshima, or visit the Yurakucho desk, the Furusato Kaiki Shien Center in Tokyo. And yeah, and that's the end of today's webinar. So yeah, so thank you so much, Paul and Daniel, for your time and explaining everything. It's been really fantastic. And yeah, thank you so much to everyone who's joined this meeting and all your fantastic questions. And yeah, and hopefully see you in Hiroshima soon, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Cheers.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.